So a lot of people can get as many smart contracts as you want, and you can.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Super Happy Dragon Lucky. This is episode 14, and today we're going to go over a few things. To start, wanted to let people know about Save the Tweet, that it's a bot account on Twitter that interfaces with Eternal. And some people have been using it, but we haven't been actively promoting it because we were kind of getting some testing done on it. But we've now added verbs, so you can at save the tweet, and then hashtag please or save or eternalize, or there's a few. Help is another one, which will tell you all the commands. And it's actually nice, working really well. And we'll have some things added to it over time, including some premium features where you'll be able to cryptographically sign your tweet as a good point for identity. So today, though, the main point is that we're going to do a live demo load test of Dragonchain itself, and Robbie's here to do this, so kick that off and then we can get into everything else.
So we've talked a lot about being able to scale and the power of DragonNet to process a large number of transactions all at once. So we wanted to right now demonstrate in production that with a single L1 Dragonchain, we can reach Ripple levels of transactions. So you should be able to see my screen now. I'm just going to use an open source load test tool called Locust that's written in Python. And I'm going to start it off. It'll take a second to spin up some users and start hitting a web server. This is done using the Dragonchain bulk endpoint. So we're using fewer HTTP requests to send more transactions. As it spins up, you're going to see that the requests per second are going to peak around 2,000 and average somewhere in that 17 to 1,800 range. So you can see that we're going to have a graph start coming in. And we're actually going to let this run for the duration of Super Happy Dragon Lucky.
And yeah, you should be able to, you'll see that on the metrics this evening.
At the end of the day, you should be able to check and see all of these new transactions in your metrics. And if you have a verifying node, watch throughout the day because you should see all of these rewards coming in.
And we're going to set up a few live streams in the future, this month and next month, to show different levels of scaling and different angles on how to talk very much about how the network scales. It's really cool stuff. I think a couple of videos coming out too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so while it is running, we're going to talk about the hackathon. So today's the kickoff, 9 a.m. Pacific, and you can still sign up. I think you can sign up almost to the end of the hackathon, is that right?
You can keep signing up, so don't worry about if you don't start right on the dot. You can add and remove team members as you need. We just need a point of contact.
Right, and you can be on your own team. We've had some people that, and some teams are still assembling, figuring out who they, what project they want to work on. And there's a Slack channel that when you sign up, you'll be in the Slack channel, so you can.
Yeah, and there's still people in that channel looking for team members too. So if you have an idea but need extra help, or you need extra help, or you want to help but you don't have an idea, that's a great place to meet other people who want to participate.
Right. And a lot of the ideas I've seen are really interesting. There's some pretty good stuff and a lot of different varied things. They aren't, not everything in the same place. And so the grand prize is 1 Bitcoin worth of Dragon. And we, it looks like best use of interchain, $500 in cash. Most creative is 1/10 of a Bitcoin worth of Dragon. Most innovative is 1/4 of a Bitcoin worth of Dragon. The best integration, that is integration with a traditional system or with a different blockchain, which whatever might make a good sense to build, is another 1/4 Bitcoin worth of Dragon. The most commercially viable is the grand prize, which is a Bitcoin worth of Dragon. And in addition to all of that every category will get the engraved Dragonchain ledger. I assume that's for every team member. It's not written. I would assume that. We'll probably do that. All right, and 6 months free on Dragonchain's managed service platform. That is, you'd have a node for no cost. And then we'll have you on the show here to demonstrate or to talk about or to show your code.
It's
or whatever
really
makes sense.
exciting to see all of these new projects coming in. People who have really cool commercial ideas. So one of the things we wanted to make happen was once you've built your project, now you can run it, and you won't have to worry about operating costs for at least 6 months.
Right. Good buffer. Right. Grace period. You can do something and commercialize it or whatever makes sense. What else? Everything's in Slack. There are already over 60 people in the Slack channel. We had over 100 entries, which is judges and devs and mentors. We have at least 5 teams right now, we think, formed, and I'm sure more will happen as well. Let's see here. We will have to talk more about the judging process with the people who signed up to be a judge. That should be interesting. And we actually don't have. I think it was a shout out for the judges. We'll do something for the judges too. I don't know if it'd be merch or something. Right? We'll figure it out. So go to dragonchain.com/hackathon for all the rules and. Now we can talk about. We go back to transaction per second. Is there anything else in Hackathon that we should go over before?
No, I think the biggest thing is dragonchain.com/hackathon. That'll get you into the Google form, and we'll get you in the Slack. You can meet with the other participants, talk there. There will be a developer in that chat, at least during work hours, even on the weekend. So if you ever have questions or you need help getting through a problem, please ask, and we'll do everything we can to help.
Cool. So, to get in transactions per second, I mean, it's an interesting metric. Sometimes it doesn't mean everything that it's cracked up to mean, and sometimes people interpret it differently. But you have in the crypto world, or at least in these various networks that are usually cited. So Bitcoin is 6 to 7 a second, and that can increase depending upon certain factors. Ethereum is what?
So Ethereum averages around like 15 to 20 a second.
15. Okay.
I think we have a graph.
And that can go up and down. Then we have Ripple, which is 1,500 cited, and that's what we're showing here. We also have what's Swift? It's lower.
Yes.
Right?
I want to say Swift was around 200 a second.
Okay, and then we have Visa, which is 1,700 a second.
Yeah, on average.
On average, and they claim. I've seen both 24,000 and 37,000.
Yeah.
For peak.
Their peak is harder to figure out, but yeah, they've claimed. I've seen 20,000. I've seen 17,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and that's with tens of thousands of the equivalent nodes for Visa. And we were basically trying to say, okay, I was pushing the team to pump up the single node metric for transactions per second, and we got a single I guess it would be a managed node, but not tuned, right?
Yeah.
Just out of the box.
With the absolute base, if you click Create L1 in the console, what you would get, that node.
Is about how many?
We got to about 300 transactions a second without doing anything at all to make it faster.
Okay. It's just better than I remembered. Okay. There are so many numbers. So, and then when you can tune it, like say if it's an enterprise account, those can be tuned up.
Yeah.
Decent amount, but there's still the limit, which is network.
Yes.
Like just the actual transaction calls themselves are HTTP call. So the network and all of the auth involved really throttles what's possible there. So we do have a bulk transaction API available that you can get up to what?
So at peak, we were able to get about 2,500 transactions a second.
Okay.
On just a base level node. You can still get better performance if you have a stronger web server, or if you do some horizontal scaling on that.
Right.
So
And we can split to some of the tests we might do, depending, will be multi-node, where we're a little closer to what we're trying to compare ourselves to with any of the crypto networks where you have thousands or hundreds at least of nodes, and where you would have Visa with, obviously, I assume tens of thousands of machines pushing that data in, and you even had to work through just feeding enough
Yes.
transactions in from multiple agents or jobs. I don't know what Locus calls them. So we're going to be doing some of those tests, and we want to show that, I guess the primary thing is that not only the nodes at the business level, that they can take that level of traffic, but also that the network won't fall over, right?
Yes.
You did a test, how long ago? Months ago?
Are you talking about the load test?
Yeah, the
that was a
big
couple
load
months
test.
ago.
Okay, and it did, what, 1 million a day?
Yeah,
for
so
a
we
few
were
days?
doing 1 million a day just to see how the network would handle it. So I had a couple nodes and just some crons that were running constantly, pumping out around 17 a second just to reach that 1 million in a day. And yet the network handled it pretty well. We definitely noticed some bottlenecks and were able to fix those. So now we don't have any of those problems, and I would be really comfortable doing that test again, confident that nothing would go wrong.
Cool. So we're going to be doing some live, and I'm still working with the team trying to convince them to do certain things, but to do some live streaming at different levels, or some of them might be an hour, some of them might be 30 minutes, but I want to do a longer duration test where we do something that's a reasonable number for a long period of time, just to basically put it out there, and on the one side, find any issues that we might find ourselves, but also to demonstrate it, and then to do that publicly and to open source the code and the data so everybody can see what we're running. We were talking about it. We think that we'll be able to actually even expose the actual full blocks, right? That
Yes.
people will be able to come and see every single transaction if they want. So to prove that it actually ran through all of the verification levels. And the last bit of scaling is the level 5 nodes, the public blockchains themselves, which Bitcoin right now is going out every 3 hours, I think, aggregate.
Yes.
Unless it loads up and it needs to go out sooner. That if it loads up too many blocks, it will go faster than that.
Yes.
Ethereum is what, every 30 minutes?
I believe Ethereum's every 30 minutes.
And Ethereum Classic is every
30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. And Binance is every...
I think every hour.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that.
Okay. We've actually seen a bunch of Binance stuff go out on Eternal as an example, right? It's really interesting. So, I think that's everything. How long has this been running? Do we have, or if it gives you a time or not?
So we started running it at about 8:02, and it is 8:14 now. So we can leave it running for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
I see we have a question from John Once More. If you're referring to the 2,500 a second, that was using the bulk API. Actually, when you send single transactions, because a single transaction is pretty lightweight and easy to verify, the majority of that time taken is establishing the network connection and then performing the authentication. Dragonchains use HMAC, so you have to sign the entire message, and there's like timestamp and a lot of things in there. So it provides a lot of security, but it's also pretty slow. Being able to only do authentication once using bulk API allows you to get a much higher transaction per second.
And so the single, the standard API, for I'm sending a single transaction over, that was at 300, you said,
Yes,
right?
that was at 300 without any optimization.
Okay, that's pretty good. And so we should, when we do some more of the load testing, we should probably publish the actual breakdown of time, right? That if I send a single transaction, this many milliseconds is the auth portion, and then the actual transaction takes that long, right? That would be useful info, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then, the difference, right? Like, if do we have a max on the bulk API? How many you can fit?
So right now there's 250 as a max. We're looking into if we could increase that, or if we even necessarily need a limit, because once it gets through the web server into the transaction processor, things go a lot faster. The only concern we've had recently is actually we were able to make transactions or blocks that were so large that the network couldn't handle them.
Right. Yeah, the actual post, right?
Yeah, the actual post would fail because the post body was too large.
Yeah.
So
that's the real limit anyway, right? So depending on your data, I guess it would change that. What else can we go over? Metrics. We did add some new metrics late last week, I believe it was late last week. Some much better handle on what you can see. And, I wanted to get in there to show, okay, this is the total number of fees that were paid on the network today. And then the breakdown of, on average, where it went over those nodes per time, per million time, right? So that was really interesting, and as those start to roll out, one other big thing coming, I've seen, I think I saw a pull request, maybe it was just a ticket, I can't remember, it was a pull request for the pool limiting. So we had an issue, it wasn't an issue operationally, it works, but for economics, that we had opened up the pools so that people who didn't have enough time to launch a verification node, that anybody could run one that had an account and had time, by applying their time to one of the pools for each level. So there's a level 2, 3, and 4 pool. And the issue became that a lot of the time whales had put in billions into those. So whenever one of those pools will hit, everybody's in them was complaining because they're getting peanuts, the tiniest fractions of dragons. So what we're doing, because those people with the high time can run an unmanaged node, level 2 in particular. The ideal is if you can run an unmanaged node, or multiple unmanaged nodes. And so we're limiting the pools to 25 million, and that'll happen sometime relatively soon. We'll announce it in Telegram at least, and maybe elsewhere. And then shortly after that, not shortly after that, sometime soon, we're going to open up the ability to run level 3s and 4s by running more level 2s. That is, if you're at least contributing with individual nodes, and ideally they will be distributed, in different locations. Ideally, you run them on your own machine because then it's cheaper. What's the overhead? Do you know what's because it'll hold 2 gig, I think, right? Yeah. What's the overhead what's the footprint on a level 2 node? I
think the smallest that, and I think John Once More is the one who managed to do it, was 2 gigs of RAM and a 2 gigahertz processor. So very small. You can run these nodes really easily.
Okay. Then let's see here. We're going to make it. I think it's either 10 or 25 level 2s. Then you can run a level 3, and then I can't remember how many. Maybe 5 level 3s. Then you can run a level 4. A level 4 will still require identity and all of that. Hopefully soon. We're looking at a separate reward program as well to incentivize people to run unmanaged verification nodes. So that's good. Okay. Question. Tenacious Dragon. How much Dragon are you spending for this demo in fees? It's a good question. How much time is applied?
So the node that we're running this on does have the maximum amount of time applied. Do we want to give a number?
Well, I don't know what the total will be,
Yeah.
but that's 0.01.
$0.001 dollars per transaction.
Is it a tenth of a cent or is it
Yes,
a
tenth
hundredth
of a
of a cent?
cent.
I think it's a hundredth of a cent.
Might be 100th.
It won't be a lot.
Yeah.
Now, when we run one of the bigger tests, we've already calculated out the amounts. Like say, if we run the 24-hour test, it's about 15 grand that we'll have to budget of dragons for that at the lowest level. So it'll be a tremendous number of really cheap transactions. So that's good. So, get your level 2s ready, right? Get ready for that. Get your time ready. Tenacious Dragon also talk about Dragon Den, right? So we're rolling that out. We're actually not wanting to promote it too heavily right now because we're still working on a couple of security features for it that are kind of core. And so don't shill it, don't push it too much yet, but do get in there and use it because we really are wanting to get more info and do more real testing, especially in the UI. We're working on, it's mobile friendly this time around, which is amazing. The look feel of it's great. And there are a couple of, like, say, navigation things that the team's working on, gating. They're working on the blocking and banning system, which will be really pretty amazing and different and very, I think it'll be very unique but very natural. It'll just feel like you block somebody and you don't have to worry about them. And then if enough people block that same person, they get banned. So an admin or an owner of the layer doesn't even have to actually take action usually. If it's something really bad, then yeah, you'll have to go in and do something you'd expect. We're working on a partnership with it, so right now I'm hoping to get some stuff rolled out at the beginning of the year. We don't have a date for mining, but it might be before we do the full rollout. I'm kind of on the fence as to what we do there, but we will turn on Matter mining and have an origin block sometime soon once we know everything's solid and everything's clean. So that'll be an exciting thing because then right now if you're generating Matter, as a lot of you are, it'll be rewarded with lore so that you can then buy layers very soon also. So that's Den. A lot of neat stuff there. I think that's. Oh, I could go over Factor too. There's some important stuff coming out on Factor. Are you working the app?
Yes.
That's right. So what can you tell us?
So we're working on generating that kind of first pass of a factor, really showing off the power of self-sovereign identity and being able to hold your own information. So we're working to get some providers in place, get some kind of app where you could really quickly generate a factor and start using it to really just demonstrate how all of it would work end to end and get it in people's hands so they can, play with it. It's hard to talk about the idea when there's nothing that anyone can actually see work.
It's very abstract anyway, but once it's there, it's really simple because you don't have to know how it works. The sausage making stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of sausage being made.
Yeah,
but what people really want is the sausage.
Yeah. Right on. With that, I think we sign off. We're good, right? Okay, so thanks everyone. Come back next week. I'm not sure what we're talking about then, but it'll be good. And have a great week.
And make sure to check metrics at the end of the day.
Yes. Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.